So if you can see my template, it's a one-piece template, and all I have to do is cut out all of this, and then we use our circle cutters, which is this one, to cut the center out, and then all 4 walls fold up, and you score and slip them together. And this is an embossing tool with a thin ball tool on the top, and I like using this for cutting more than I like to use my needle tool. But I just created this template by fiddling around with a cross pattern because it's going to be with children that are younger, and it's a workshop where we don't have a whole lot of time. So I'm just pushing with the embossing tool, making the dotted lines so that I can see where to fold on the other side. And I'm going to do the same thing on the circle here. So when I lift this off, I'll know where to cut. Like so. And you may not be able, yeah, I think you can see that circle. I like to work on parchment paper when I can, because if I have to cover it with plastic and use it later, it won't dry it out. Well, I was working on this gingerbread house made out of clay, and so I thought I would start working on the roof, because the clay for the actual house form is a little too soft still. But I cut out a rectangle template, and this is going to be the roof. I'm just going to trace it right now because I want to make faux shingles, and I'm going to use the back or the end of a popsicle stick. I think it could be a tongue depressor. They're also called craft sticks. And then I would just fold it in half on the house form to make the actual roof. So for the roof, it's going to go on the house this way. So I should probably find out where halfway is. So I'm going to lay this back on here and just score across my fold line. Am I going straight? Just gotta have a general idea of where middle is. I didn't quite press hard enough. And just make a light little line there. And then I take the tongue depressor and just start pressing and kind of pulling up at the same time. And it's going to make these little scalloped shingles. And you start at the bottom and just kind of go in between for each row. And just give a firm pressure. And I'm doing this now because it'll be easier than putting this much pressure on the actual structure once the roof is attached. But it really looks pretty when you make this scallop texture and then put white underglaze or slip to make it resemble snow on the roof. So I'm just going to keep pressing my little shingle marks, and when I get halfway, I'll just flip it around and do the other side. So again, you can see how I'm kind of staggering the imprint. And they don't have to be perfect. because it's not a house we're going to live in. I always tell my students, you don't have to be perfect. Perfect is boring. But then I also preface, say, unless you're building a house. But in this case, since it's not a real house, so I'm going to turn it and do my shingles the same way on this side. But I'll stop the camera and finish and then come back. So I have all of my shingle marks on the roof now. I'm just going to take my clay knife and cut out my roof, which is just a simple rectangle. And then I'm going to set it aside and start working on the actual house form. So you can see now the roof has its texture for the shingles, and then it'll stand like this. I'll be able to put it right onto the house in just a few minutes. So I'm going to go back to the house structure, and I'm going to score just a little bit where I'm going to bend the house form. And I did cut a slight little angle on each wall. I didn't do it exact, but I took my knife and just held it at a 45-degree angle and trimmed a little off so that the edges might meet a little more easily. And then I'm going to put some slip, and in my case it's just kind of murky clay water, but you could use real slip. I recommend using the same clay body for your slip that you use for, for your slip that you use for your actual piece. And if you can see, I'm now just putting the walls together. And this one piece template is just wonderful, because once you have all the walls touching, it can hold its form a little more easily than if all of the walls were were individual pieces. And then I just gently pinch them together. So I'm going to just work on carefully getting the seams together and putting the roof on. And sometimes I'll use a tool or something just to help me get my walls nice and straight. And I like to blend the seam on the inside and the out. So I'm going to work on just smoothing the seams, and I'll be right back. I don't know if I mentioned that the hole that I cut out in the bottom was so that when this is fired and finished, you can put a tea light on it. And now I'm just going to attach the roof, and I'm just going to score all around the edges. This is really important. And after I put the roof on, I might even add a little caulking coil, is what I like to call it, which is just soft rolled coil of clay to smooth around the edges to keep the roof from falling off. And then this is the roof. I'm just going to score randomly all around the edge of the rectangle, because I don't need to be concerned about the score marks showing. since it's going to be underneath the roof. But when I score, I like to go both directions, like cross hatching, so that I can get some deep grooves. And if you don't know, scoring is so that the little so that the clay can seep down in those little grooves and make for a tighter bond. If you don't slip and score, score and slip, the clay is likely to fall apart, so you want to score both surfaces. And then add your slip. When your clay is soft leather hard to leather hard, it's probably best to use slip. My clay is pretty soft, so if you can see, I'm not rubbing so hard as to smooth out my score marks, but I am rubbing hard enough to I'm putting it on so that it looks shiny. When it's shiny, and that's my way of knowing I have enough slip. So then I'm just going to put my roof on. I'm going to try to press only where I know the edges of the peaks are, so that I don't make it slump in. If you can see, I'm now getting the roof on, and then there'll be a little cleanup work that I'll have to do, but the fun part is ahead, because then I can move on to deciding where I want to put my windows and doors and embellishments. But you can see now I have the roof attached. And I'm going to start getting ready to decorate it. But this is probably the hardest part, is just getting the actual form created. So I'll just kind of tidy this up a little, clean it up a little, let it rest, and start making the embellishments. So I started putting on just a little bit of the embellishments, using this Wilton fondant mold. I love this thing. I just wanted to show you when I load it with the clay, I try not to overfill it. I try to only put as much in as I need, so I use a really thin coil, and then I score it while it's actually in the mold so that it won't tear apart as easily when I try to score it outside of the mold. So I'm just scoring it. I'm going to put a rim of this beaded mold around the peak of my roof, and as I said before, it's best if you just bend it and kind of flip it out of the mold like this. It tends to come out much better, and try not to use really wet clay. You want to use clay that's a little bit stiffer than you would think. Let's see, can you see the peak there? And then all I do is try to lay it flat. It's a little putsy, and if they break apart, you can just match them back up. So I'm going to give it this little beaded trim that can be painted really decorative. But I think what I'm going to do on these is, because this is a red earthenware, and when it fires it's got like a nice brown, almost looks just like the color of gingerbread, if you were using a dark gingerbread. And so I just think I'm going to embellish mine with white, not embellish, but glaze it with white underglaze, and then put clear over it so that all of the details are white. We'll see. But anyway, this is how I put on the little beaded trim. And then I have this little thing. I think most of my tools for making decoration you find in the cake aisle for fondant. And some of them, of course, I'll just create by just molding them with my hand, but this one makes this really fun feature, and I think this is a good one to use on the peak of the roof or even down on the bottom, which could look like shrubs or bushes. So I'm just gonna score this. I have random scoring tools. I have the serrated tool, but I also use little pieces of comb. They work great because you can cut them to size and get down in the little nooks and crannies when you're trying to score in a tight space. And then I'm going to put a row of this decoration on the side of my house. I haven't decided where I want my windows yet, but since I know I want this little line of decoration here, I'll go ahead and put this one on. And again, just put some of my slip, which is just water in this case, a little bit of clay water, and then it's okay that they're not staying in one strip because I can just line them up myself. But all my decoration is going to go actually on the surface of the house. I say that because you could build this on like a slab and then make freestanding little trees or snowmen or whatever you want, like it's the yard of the house. But I want mine to just be one piece with no platform or base hanging off. So now I have the little scalloped faux looking shrubs, and I have another one of those I'm going to attach to the other side. So I'm going to just keep making some of the decorative pieces, and then I'll show you periodically as I get further along. So I've just been making some of the molded decorations and adding them, and so I put a little heart window and used this as another fondant decorative piece that makes things look like they're twisted like this. It almost looks like pasta. Oops, the shape that you get. And then I made some that are like, oops, hard to hold on to, the shape of a candy cane. So I think I'm going to put these on. Let's see where, maybe I'll set those aside for a minute. I rolled some really skinny coils. Move that out of the way. Everything gets so cluttered. So I have some really skinny coils that I'm going to twist and turn into a little trim for around the base of the roof. I usually do 3 coils, and I think it makes a nicer twist, but I just don't want this one to be that thick. So I'm rolling it just a little bit, one hand forward, one hand back. I may have overworked this clay a little bit, so got to be a little gingerly with it to get it to twist. And then I'm just gonna score and slip it around the bottom rim of the roof. I think I'm gonna need 2 of these. This is just so much fun to watch these twist like that. So I have that one, and I have one more. See if I can move those out of my way as well. So I've gotten to the fun part here. This is what I consider the fun part, because you get to make all of the embellishments and decorations. and use your imagination and come up with all kinds of fun little details. It's a really fun project to do with children because their imagination is so fun. And I think in order to keep kids' imagination alive, it's good to have them work with their hands and just see what kind of things they can actually take from their imagination to actual forms and creations. Clay is a really good medium for that. Kids of all ages, if you ask me. Because I'm a big kid at heart when it comes to working with clay. That's why I sometimes discourage using things like little molds and things like cookie cutters, but for a project like this, like for instance, look how cute he is, the little gingerbread man. This guy has a little ski cap on. So it's just kind of reliving the days when we would cut out sugar cookie cutouts in all different shapes. And we used to do a family gingerbread decorating every year during the holidays after Christmas, just to have a fun activity for the kids, because they'd be kind of bored once Christmas, the excitement of opening the gifts and everything was over. They'd still be kind of wanting something to do. So we would always do family gingerbread house decorating. And sometimes neighbor friends would come. And we were actually going to do it last year and bought everything to do it. And sometimes they even use leftover trick-or-treat candy. Well, we do always, actually. The stuff that doesn't get eaten. And just had fun making the real gingerbread houses. But the clay ones are great because they're kind of with you for a long time, as long as they don't get broken. So I have my twists here, and I'm just going to score one side. I'm going to keep going from my scoring tool to my comb, but they both work great. And then I'm just going to attach it. Like this. Give it a little squeeze to make sure it's on there. And over here as well. So this clay is firming up really well. The house structure is getting nice and leather hard. See if I can get some more on this side. Score it. Oops. And attach it just like that. And give it a little squeeze and make sure it's on there good. Okay, so now I have my twisted little trim here. I think I might even scallop it a little bit. No, I think not. We'll just leave it. We'll do the same over here, just a little bit. Not quite noticeable. Oh, there's just so many options now. Well, let's put our gingerbread people on. Where should we put them? How about, should I put one there? Like they're playing in the snow. Oops, we lost the little pom-pom on his hat, but I can put that back on. So let's score and slip them on. I'm going to put them on the side of the house here so it looks like they're in the yard playing. There is the issue of sometimes the walls seem like they're kind of caving in. I have to reach in and pull them out a little bit. There we go. Add some slip here, which I said before, but I'll say it again for those of you who work with clay. My slip is just murky clay water. It's not genuinely slip with the mixture of clay. I'm not going to score this. It's so soft. Just going to stick him on. Give a little press and then put a little pom-pom back on his hat if I can. There we go. And that's his little pom-pom that goes on his hat. You see? And then I'm going to put the other friend on this side. He's cute. He's got little snowflakes for buttons. Reach in here again and pull this out a little bit. It's easier to clean up the surface of the clay once it's a little more dry. So I'm not even going to try to smooth out any of the surface right now. Just going to put our little gingerbread men on the side. And I have some little Christmas tree cutouts that I made. I have these really cute mini cutters, and one of them is supposed to be a gingerbread, but I couldn't find it. So, but the tree and the snowman are super cute, and I did not score these. I should have, so let me do that. They're real delicate, so I'm going to use this guy because it has a slightly lighter touch, so that I won't tear up my embellishments while I'm scoring them. And I think I'll put one by the front door, which here is my door. I kind of gave it a little wood grain look. And then I'm going to score here before I attach my tree. But actually that would just look like a tree if you just had the texture there. But I rolled out a really thin piece of clay and then I just textured it a little bit with my scoring tool. And now I'm just going to stick this on so it looks like a tree in the front yard. Like that. Let's see, I might need to score it just a little bit more. Do a little pine needle look. And I think I want to put some decoration around my door. I've got these, they've gotten a little stiff, but I think I can make them work. Just add a little bit of water. Oh, I also have a little wreath that I popped out of the mold. Let's put that on. Put it right on the front door. Oh, I think there's a bow. Yeah, that's the bow. I'll make the bow go down. So now I've got a little wreath on the door. And boy, it's just like playing dollhouse almost. Haven't done that in many, many years. And then I'm going to stick the little dots around the door to make it sort of decorative. Rusty, what are you doing? Rusty, come from over there. What are you getting into, mister? Hello. Okay, so I have the little dots around the door. And that's so cute. And maybe I'll cut some more windows. So I've got this side that could use some more decorations. and then the whole back area, which I have another tree. We'll put a tree back here. Maybe I'll put several trees back here. I have, where's that other mold? Oh, here it is. So this one I really like because it's got a real natural looking tree. So let's put some clay in that one. See what we get. I'm gonna shape it in a bit of a triangle. Give me a little help here. A little bit of this off the edges. Okay. Clean up some of these crummy bits. Okay, and then, like I said, I like to score it while it's still in the mold. I'm kind of pushing it all towards the center here, and then scoring it so that I won't tear it up once it's out of the mold. Let's see if I can peel you out. There we go. I lost a little piece of him, but that's okay because I can always piece it back together. I'm going to add some of my slip, stick this one on, like so. I got these little molds from Amazon, by the way, if you're interested. I think I put in fondant molds or clay molds. Now, some of the fondant molds are a little more flimsy than the clay molds. They cost less, but they're a little harder to work with. The clay ones are real, well, actually that's not true. The Wilton one's nice and stiff. The stiffer the rubber is, the better, because then they will peel out a little more easily. But there's an evergreen tree, and then I'm going to add a shorter one next to it. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to add a little short one right here. Like that. So I've got two trees. The details won't show as well until it's fired and glazed, but I just thought I'd have fun with you making a gingerbread house on camera. Clay gingerbread house, that is. You could do like a chimney on the roof if you wanted to. I'm gonna put a few more windows. Oh, you know what? I have a snowman. Let's put a little snowman here in the front. There's a few score marks. Makes me long for a nice winter day. So this snowman, I used a little cutter. So I added my own little face and scarf to it. And I'm just going to add a little slip and stick him on. I have this little rubber tip tool that I like to use after I'm all done and just go around the seams and make sure everything's stuck on well. And then I can also use it to smooth out any of the scars or score marks that I don't want to show. It's a great tool for the cleanup process. So I'm gonna just do a few more cutouts and then I'll show you what I finished with. So I have just gone ahead and embellished and embellished and embellished. I'm happy because I was actually able to get the deer, the little deer here. Can you see him out of the mold? Now I'm just going around and kind of cleaning up all the score marks. Kind of get him to sit on there, and I think I'm just gonna add one more tree on the other side of our deer. And I've cut out several windows, and that way when I put the tea light in the bottom, it'll illuminate at night and look really pretty. I do that when I make the fairy houses too. And make sure there's a cutout in the bottom for the tea light. And I use the battery operated ones just to be safe. So I've peeled out one more tree here, and we'll score and slip it on right here on the corner. If you can see, just add my slip here and here. And stick on my tree. I'm just going to bend it over the corner a little bit. So I have thoroughly enjoyed making this clay gingerbread house. And I'll see if I can give you an image of all sides. Let's put it, I'll take it off of the stand. So you can see on the bottom, there's the hole for the tea light. So this is going to get bisque fired, which is fired one time at about 1800 plus degrees. Then when it's done, I'll paint it with some underglazes and slips, and it'll be ready to use. Here's the other side. There's the front door with the wreath, little heart window. And my gang is about to come through the door, so I'm gonna end this video. But thanks for watching, and I'll be putting up a few more videos soon. So have a good day.